Well, this is a big deal because it's true, travels with her own toilet to protect her DNA, just like Kim Jong Un. I read that on her bio at the Heritage Foundation, where she is the vice president of foreign policy for the Davis Institute of Foreign Policy at the Heritage Foundation. I'm sorry, Dr. Victoria Coates. I'm sorry. I blew that. But how are you today?
I've never been compared to Kim Jong Un before. So that's
Often a battle
exciting
for the
and new
Jewish
for
state,
me.
how Israel and America can win. Happy Friday, for real.
Yeah, happy actual Friday.
Yeah. So
Good
we have a
stuff.
lot to chat about, but Matt asked me to, right at the start of this, ask you about this story, which has a lot of people talking. We're going to talk about the Navy SEAL story as well, but Kim Jong-un traveled to China with a private toilet to protect his DNA as staff carefully cleaned it after his sit-down with Vladimir Putin. I mean, I travel with a portable toilet. I thought everybody did. I'm not sure why this is newsworthy.
Well, he only travels by that secure train, which has, yes, everything, including the special toilet on it. And apparently, if he goes to Moscow, he'll go by that train as well.
That train is pretty badass. I'm just saying. Like, if you're going to travel by rail, that's the way to go.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that's probably his prized possession. They don't have very much in North Korea due to his policies, but that's definitely tops on his list.
How is he still in power? I mean, really, don't they always try to kill him every now and then?
Well, yes. I mean, and that's sort of what I think we'll be talking about. But the Kims have managed to essentially brainwash that entire population. The couple of people I know who have gone said there really isn't any dissent. There is acceptance of the kind of domination that they've established. And it's so sad, Rich. There was one of Secretary Rumsfeld's favorite pictures was a satellite picture of the Korean Peninsula.
Yep.
And in the south, you have the glowing brightness of just one of the world's most vibrant economies. And in the north, there's a little pinprick of light where Pyongyang is, and it's just all dark. And it's the same people. And they've just been separated by capitalism and communism for the last 50, 60 years. And it just shows you that communism kills, literally. They're 6 inches shorter than their South Korean counterparts, who aren't particularly tall, as a people. So losing 6 inches is something you want to pay some attention to over the course of those decades. That's the malnutrition. That's the abuse. But they seem to accept it. So it's a very discouraging, depressing situation.
I think it's smart of them, though, to make sure that he doesn't leave any pieces of hair either. Because in the new Superman movie, spoiler alert, but they were able to clone Superman, which they also did in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, by getting a little piece of his hair. So you got to make sure you don't do that. We would not want to have Kim Jong-un cloned, Dr. Victoria Coates.
No, one is plenty. But what was interesting also about that, what went down in Beijing this week was the hot mic moment between Xi and Putin. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about that? Where they
did, but let's fill in the audience in case they don't know.
So the hot mic moment of Putin and Xi talking, and what are they talking about? They're talking about how they can become immortal by constant organ transplants over time, that they think this will make them immortal. They actually believe this. And so you start with the ghoulishness of using the Russian and Chinese people essentially as organ donors to keep these two men alive. And then, the hubris of it, that you're finally going to be the one who cheats death. You're going to be the one who cheats God, who fools God. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me, and such a sort of snapshot into what they're actually thinking.
And we know that organ harvesting has been the stuff of quote unquote conspiracy theories. Well, once again, another conspiracy theory here. People were vindicated again.
Yeah, no, and this has been a constant criticism of China, that they do harvest organs from people they consider to be lesser, and use them for the Chinese people. And this just shows that that's not, as you say, a conspiracy theory. That's real.
Yeah.
And they think they can actually get to this kind of immortal state. So that was, I thought, the most interesting story of the week.
And we know that Xi, that's the idea, which is that he is the supreme, a deity essentially, and that is the ultimate goal, which is his immortality and his ultimate rule of China. And that's why their goal here is supremacy on the planet. And people need to understand that. That is how China views the world. Am I correct about that?
You are. They're megalomaniacs. I mean, this is not normal behavior. You think about, Donald Trump, who's supposed to be the dictator in training, and what does he do? He, loses an election, he leaves, he rebuilds, he comes back, he wins an election. There is zero doubt in my mind he will walk out of the White House on January 20th, 2029, hand the keys to his successor, and go off and become, a political mastermind from Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster. So, that's how a normal person behaves. But these people aren't normal. You can't deal with them the way you deal with, even somebody like a Keir Starmer, for example, who, I don't agree with politically, the Prime Minister of the UK, but, he's a normal human.
Yeah.
These people aren't. And
although I think the comment by that comedian this week, I'm sure you know about that, where the comedian who was arrested said, when did the UK turn into North Korea, as we're talking about that? Because he was arrested for making some jokes about transgendered people. And they had armed police, which to people that may not realize this, but in the UK, not every cop is armed. So I love the old joke by Robin Williams, which is, would the police in England say, stop, or I'll yell stop again. In this case, they sent armed police to go arrest this man. And he said, when did the UK turn into North Korea?
Yeah, that was deeply disturbing. And it was very much the substance of the vice president's speech in Munich in February, where he said, you people have a real problem with civil liberties. And that is real. I don't disagree with that. But I don't think Keir Starmer is going to start harvesting organs to become immortal.
No.
Low bar, but...
Although they may harvest organs to eat them, because the food in England is not particularly... All right, that's disgusting. I'm sorry. That went too far there. While we're on the subject of North Korea, what do you make of that New York Times story today, the secret mission by Navy SEALs to sneak into North Korea? Did you have a chance to familiarize yourself with that story?
Yeah. My main response is whoever leaked that should be charged with treason. I mean, that is unconscionable that you would reveal that kind of operation. And it was unconscionable of the New York Times to print it. When that was floated to them, they should have said, no, this is wrong. This should not be publicized. And, we have heroic men and women in all parts of our military and our intelligence community who are getting up to things like that all around the world every single day. And what we should do is thank them. They are trying to keep us safer, and in almost all the cases they are. So the proper response is, thank you, don't tell me what you're doing. I don't need to know.
Right.
Because we don't. And that made me as mad as I've been in a long time.
Dr. Victoria Coates is with us today, and it's great to have her. I won last night. I had the Eagles. I don't bet, but if I did, I would have taken the Eagles. It was a great game until the Lightning. However, I am betting that Venezuela will beat the U.S. in a war. Do you think that's a good bet, Dr. Coates?
I do not think that's a good bet. I think that the United States can take out Venezuela pretty handily.
You think so?
I do. I mean,
Hang on
the
a quick
mismanagement.
Second. Bridget, sweetie, hold on that bet. Just hang on with that. Hang on. All right, go ahead. Sorry, you were saying. Before she gets said.
Is there a fan duel for national security?
There's a fan duel for international conflict. They just added it a couple minutes ago.
All right, so maybe I'll join. Now, this is really interesting because there's a lot of hooting and hollering on X about how the president doesn't have the authority to take the action against the drug cartels. I think he has every authority under Article 2 of the Constitution to keep the American people safe. And we've been losing hundreds of thousands of people to this drug crisis. I mean, the numbers dipped a little bit last year, but down to about 85,000 from 110 the year before. any people dying from this should be unacceptable, let alone at those numbers. I mean, remember for COVID, which was nothing even remotely comparable about that, they totally changed the way we live. And in this, we're nothing to see here. We can't do anything about it. So I think the president is 100% correct to, start to treat this as a military crisis. These are foreign terrorist organizations, as he's designated them. Those who give them material support, like Nicolas Maduro's regime, should be held accountable. And on top of that, and I don't think we fully understand this yet, the Maduro regime uses them as a kind of a paramilitary arm. So it's not like they're acting independently here. They're going where he wants them to go. They're selling the drugs he wants them to sell to poison Americans. So, it's high time we got after this. And I think, the president and Secretary Hegseth are absolutely doing the right thing.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. I believe it was 2016, it was a federal judge who ruled that when President Obama was killing people on the secret kill list, he had every right to do so as long as he first designated them terrorists. And he can kill them on foreign soil, even if they were American citizens. We have since pre-9/11, when Clinton was president and when Bush was president, and then after 9/11, radically expanded the definition of a terrorist. And now all we have to do is just say they are, and we can kill them. It's legal. If the Congress doesn't like that, then Congress needs to do something about that. That's just the way it is, and both parties have done it. Biden did it. I know that there are some people that have problems with it, and I understand that, because it is a shaky line when it comes to the power of the executive when you're dealing in international waters, and I get that point. But I feel like that proverbial horse ran out of that barn even pre-9/11. We've just kept expanding the powers ever since.
Well, yes and no. So the process to designate an organization or an individual as an FTO is arduous. And I've been through it, because we ran the process to get the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps designated as an FTO. And that was really hard, because State and Defense didn't want to do it for some of the reasons you're talking about. They were concerned that you then have elements of the U.S. military designated as terrorist groups. And my feeling is that probably would happen anyway. And the IRGC is a terrorist group, and so not calling it one, robbed us of some authorities we wanted. But we went through the process. We finally bludgeoned. This is great. We did it by holding in-person meetings at the White House every Friday at 5 until they gave up. Because there's nothing in the State Department. Yeah, the State Department hates it. So we did that for six weeks, and then they caved. So that was fun. We enjoyed
Their
it.
poor livers having to wait till 6 or 7 o'clock to have a cocktail.
Yeah, that was precisely the problem. So that is a process. You can't just say somebody's a terrorist. And I do think...
No, I didn't want to shortchange it like you could just... No. Yeah, it is. You have to designate it. That is correct, yeah.
And go, and make your case, and it is a legal case. Now, the Al-Awlaki case, which is the American citizen, I think that one remains troubling. I think the extrajudicial execution of an American citizen is a problem. As much as I think he deserved to die, that's not the question. But I think for an American citizen, it is different. So that one remains to me an open question. But
yeah, and by the way, we could do an entire show on the subject of whacking terrorists. And I agree with you, by the way, on American citizens. And there were 4 of them that Obama killed, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, but that's the famous one, and it's the question is how we handle that going forward. So, but it is within the president's, I think, authorities to go after certainly designated foreign terrorists, and that's what he's doing with the drug cartels.
And Dr. Coates, on another subject though, if we're going to have a UFC South Lawn SmackDown, like
in the octagon, no less,
as the president said. No, actually, what I wanted to ask you about was the announcement at 4 o'clock. The rumor is the president is changing the name of the Defense Department back to the Department of War. Can you give us a little historic? Is that your dog, by the way?
That's all 3 of them.
Okay, all 3 of them. All right, great.
Yeah. So that's actually not much noise.
And great win by the Phils last night on the road. I'm sure they were all excited about that. So
Yeah. Oh, everyone's happy with everything that's happening.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say about the Department of War, this was historically what the Army was. And when you go to the EEOB, if you go up the Eisenhower Executive Office building on the White House grounds, if you go up into the upper floors, you find two very beautiful libraries that were essentially for the Department of War and the Department of State back when they would fit into that building, which was probably a model we should go back to. And so the president, I think, rightly thinks the name Department of Defense, which was implemented around World War II, is not exactly what the department does. And I think he wants to signal that, yes, he does prioritize diplomacy, and yes, he rightly hates war. He doesn't want wars. He wants to end wars. But he also knows that the United States needs a credible threat of force in order to get to positive diplomatic resolutions. And so I think, if he does go ahead with this plan, it will be an excellent signal to bad actors around the world that you can't just assume he's going to sit at the negotiating table for the next 3.5 years and let you kind of, as he says, tap him along. As the Iranians messed around and found out, he'll take decisive action if he needs to. So that's, I think the symbolism of it. A friend of mine who is career military said to me, can you imagine they're going to have to appoint an entire department to do this because everybody's title changes, everybody's business card changes, everybody's stationery changes. I just, the logistics of it are going to be unbelievable. But
has anyone estimated the cost of what it will be, the name change?
I'm sure CNN will helpfully come up with some very large number.
And ultimately, does Congress have to codify it into law, or does the president have the ability to do it? I've heard different things on that.
No, I think the Congress will have to modify the statute that governs the department, but that's not the hardest thing to do in the world, especially with Republicans, chairing the committee. I'm stuck on the acronym, the Senate Armed Services Committee.
Gotcha.
So that that should be a pretty quick, easy fix, and then obviously the House and the Senate will have to appropriate the funding to support it. But if he makes that announcement, we're working on the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, now. That's currently being prepared, and we're very pleased with it. By the way, about 80% of what Heritage recommended is in it. So I think that's going to be a really good bill for the security of the American people, and they could put this into that.
I also wanted to ask you about this too, and that is that as we're having all these conversations about Putin and where everything stands with that, we're also talking a lot about energy here in America. How concerned should Russia be that the United States of America right now is striking all of these deals with Europe and with other countries? Because we're talking about trade. We're also talking about energy right now. And you have said many times that Russia is basically a gas station with nuclear weapons. So how concerned should Putin be with all this?
Oh, I think this is one of the president's most important tools. And we hit, I believe it was in June of this year, a record high of oil production. So we're clawing back some of the growth in production that was sort of stunted, if you will, under the Biden administration, which did see a slowly increasing production, but nothing like what we could do. And particularly for natural gas, that's going to be really important for Pennsylvania. Our exports are some that can go straight to Europe if we need them to. And the Europeans have signed up to the tune of about, I think, $750 billion. It's the number that sticks in my head for what they're going to buy. So that is $750 billion that isn't going to Putin. Our gas is also cleaner than his, so this is a good thing for the environment. And if China wants to continue to buy the dirty Russian oil and gas, there's probably not that much we can do about it. But where I'm really continuing to watch, and I know we've talked about this, I think it's really important, is what's going to happen with India. And right now the relationship is very contentious. I think the president has been really needing to focus their attention on his seriousness. And I think, though, the relationship he has with Prime Minister Modi is strong, and that we'll get through this difficult period and then find a way that we supply them, that's a huge new market for us, particularly in the natural gas sphere. So figuring that out, in Japan as well, also announced this week they're going to significantly expand their natural gas purchases because of their location. They purchase from Alaska, but that's just more market share for the United States.
I mean, that's fantastic. It really is. We have to run, but I'm grateful for your time. I will let you get back to your personal luxury train, and I thank you for joining us here on the show. So always a pleasure to have you, my friend, Dr. Victoria Coates. Follow her on Twitter at Victoria Coates. By the way, any Fox News hits coming up?
I was on Fox Business this morning.
Excellent.
And so yes, I was on Varney and was supposed to be on Kudlow this afternoon, and we had to pull it down because the president's going to talk.
Oh, well, it's when you get bumped by that guy.
That's
it's
okay. That's okay with me.
Yeah, I mean, the nerve of that guy, I'm telling you. All right. Well, have a great weekend, my friend. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
You too. Go Birds.
The Rich Zeoli Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.